The Frozen Pane. Maud stood at her bedroom window as she'd done so many nights before. She would watch and wait for her husband to come home, and still after he passed, she would find herself simply watching. She would watch the birds nesting in her garden and listen to their songs, or watch for deer to cross the lane through the lush, verdant forest that enclosed her home. These were the things that brought her joy in the warm months, these things that were no longer there, for winter had come. Its unforgiving touch took the flowers from her garden and stripped her once proud forest bare, reminding her with cold certainty that all things come to pass. Staring upon the grim moonlit visage of her world, she bitterly cursed the Ice King cold and his deathly touch. Yet her heart felt emptier still, as if she missed something more. Beyond her husband or her garden, she missed something simple, which once brought her light, but now, too, was gone. She closed her eyes to the world outside, her thoughts frozen in time, desperate to remember. How much time had passed, she'd never know, but her eyes opened once more as light filled the room. Not the light of the moon, which was once again high in the cold, dark sky, but rather the light from the hall beyond her bedroom door. A woman entered the room and approached the window while Maud stood still in her place. The woman shivered as she approached. She grimaced, struck by the sudden cold, as her breath turned to fog in the air. Maud watched the woman's reflection in the window and was saddened to see that the tyrannical cold had made its way inside her home, threatening even the youth of the woman who now stood beside her. Yet the woman appeared unhindered, as she simply tightened her sweater upon her neck to fight off the chill. Her shivering grimace was brief and quickly turned into a nostalgic grin as she leaned into the window and softly sighed against the frozen pane of glass. She reached out with one finger to draw as a child would, but before she could, she was taken aback. On the window before her, amidst the dew from the warmth of her breath, appeared a picture all on its own, a simple yet beautiful drawing of mountains and trees, of ferns and flowers and flowing rivers. Maud watched in awe as the image appeared, an image she once drew long ago. She remembered now her simple joy. She would draw on the glass, taking winter's cruel grasp and shaping it into something beautiful. She was stripped of this joy when she lost the warm breath of life, left unable to remember how she once escaped winter as she piteously gave in to the cold loneliness of death. But now she remembered. Her simple drawing from days long past became clearer to her as it came to life. A morning sun rose above the mountain peaks and shone its piercing light upon the trees and flowers and rivers of her own imagined paradise. Its powerful light shone right into the room, landing at her feet. Drawn through the window, Maud followed that light. She looked back but once at the woman who stood in her place and saw her now for who she was, her daughter, fully grown, with tears of happiness in her eyes as she retraced the drawing her mother once made, thankful that it was still there. And Maud was thankful too. She found herself thankful for the cold that took so much, for it gave to her now everlasting peace. Thank you for listening. This story was inspired by the poem The Ice King's Reign, which was written by an anonymous author found in the book Cinderella or the Little Glass Slipper and Other Stories by Anonymous. The first draft was written live on Twitch with the help of my audience, who took part in the brainstorming process. There is a link to my Twitch channel in the description below, and I look forward to having some of you join in on the next brainstorming session where we can craft a story together just like this one that you listened to today. If you liked this story and you'd like to hear more, please feel free to hit the like button and subscribe. It would go a long way to letting me know that this is something that I should continue to pursue. I'd like to end this video by reading the poem that inspired the story that you heard today. Thanks again for listening. The Ice King's Reign. The sun had gone down with promises sweet, when keen from the north the wind came blustering along on its coursers fleet, and left frozen tracks behind. Maud stood at the window, the moon shimmered down on whirling leaves, stiff and dead. All piteously driven, she turned with a frown, and soft to herself she said, "The old tyrant winter leaves nothing to prize, leaves nothing that's bright or fair. He has stolen the blue from the bending skies, the warmth from the earth and air. The summer's dear blossoms are withered and dead, my garden is brown and bare. The chipper of birds in the nest overhead is hushed, for no birdlings are here. The woodlands no longer are shady and sweet, dry leafage encumbers the ground. The pathways, once verdant and soft to my feet, in fetters of ice are bound. The pride of the barnyard sits humped with the cold, one frozen foot under his wing, and the sheep huddle closely for warmth in their fold. The ice tyrant reigns as king." She turns from this picture of ruin and death, and seeks the broad casement again. And lo, from the dews of her wasted breath, great forests have grown on the pane. Such beautiful trees, such ferns and such flowers, such rivers and mountains bold, such charming cascades, she gazes for hours, and worships the Ice King cold.